Welcome everybody to Tuesday Night. I'm your host MC Toon on the channel MC Toon Live, and tonight I will be reviewing the many lies that Austin Witsit told to a larger platform than he usually gets to tell them to. Yes, he did lie many times. We're going to cover them. So earlier today, Austin debated Harrison something from who's one of the hosts on the nfoVVars platform. nfoVVars is, of course, the platform developed by Alex Jones, who is a conspiracy nutter. He thinks that there's a secret cabal behind every single thing that he doesn't like. And of course, everybody on his channel, on his platform, are going to be about the same. So in the lead up to this on Twitter or on X, a bunch of flirps were like, hey, how come you're not promoting this more? I'm like, well, this is two conspiracy nutters doing a hobo fight to see who gets to drop their trousers and sing Jimmy Crack Corn on the busiest street corner in Podunk, Mississippi. That's it. That's what's happening. So, but it was an interesting debate nonetheless. Harrison did a rather good job, I think. A lot of the time when people haven't been involved in the debate and are unfamiliar with the topic, they get information that's incorrect information about what flat earthers actually think, and then they go about debunking things that they're not claiming. And flat earthers, please leave the debunking things that you're not claiming to the flat earthers. That's their specialty. So I will be jumping past the introductions. They're a little, I don't know. They're not that important. I will also be playing it back at 1.5 speed. So Austin's regular word salad velocity will be faster than his usual word salad velocity. So be prepared for that. And yeah, the flatties were super excited for this because finally, they get to be on the big platform. But no, it's a platform of nutcases. That's what it is. But whatever, that's fine. Good for them. The nutters can be the nutters. All right, so here is Witsit's. He's partway through his introduction. And we'll get hopefully some good content here. So you see what he says.
Earth moving is the earthosphere. Those are two primary things, and they're technically independent of each other, right? So the Earth could be stationary in a sphere in theory. And when you first go down that rabbit hole,
so pausing right now because I think Austin is a closet geocentrist because so many of the things that he talks about are geocentric globe. All the time, always referencing geocentric globe things. And never does he ever want to talk about flat and evidence for flat. So I think that eventually he's going to be a geocentric glober. So we'll see.
It gets very interesting. To mention a few things, right? You obviously have the idea of geocentrism, as you mentioned. You mentioned the little squiggly lines. Well, it actually is just spiraling within a torus field. It's exactly the flower of life geometry, which we see all the way from the small scale to the big scale. We would actually expect the macro scale to fall within the flower of life because everything does, including the quantum scale.
And of course, there's an early lie. Not everything looks like the flower of life, and the flower of life is just a pattern of it's a spirograph, and it's easy to say everything falls into the flower of life because it's such a vague thing. There's nothing concrete about it. It's a circle with loops around it. That's it. So not everything is the flower of life anyway. And the quantum scale isn't the flower of life either. I don't know why he's talking about that. So, but it's an imagination thing. It looks like this, therefore there must be some connection just because it looks this way. And when you lack evidence for your position, then you have to grasp onto things that don't matter. And that's what he does.
But It's called the Copernican principle. That's really like the foundation of this, right? It's the idea that the Earth does not occupy a special or unique position. So I certainly agree with you, bro, that looking at the current model would require a creator. This place requires a creator regardless. And actually, the first and second law of thermodynamics show you that naturalism is insufficient, and you.
All right, and there's another lie. I don't know why he thinks that. He doesn't even know what the second law of thermodynamics is. I have heard this from creationists before. I do believe in a creator myself, but it is completely unsatisfactory to me. So it's a non sequitur.
Must invoke supernatural creator for the sun and the moon to coincidentally be the same size in the sky, but actually the sun's 400 times bigger, just coincidentally 400 times further away. How is that not, requiring an intelligent designer?
Well, because you just lied. I just went to an eclipse. April 8th. We saw it. Went across the United States. A total solar eclipse. A path of totality. When you're in the center of the path, it was 4 to 4.5 minutes of totality. Previous solar eclipses have been more and less totality in the center of the path. A minute of totality. 6 to 8 minutes of totality. That's because the apparent size of the moon is different than the apparent size of the sun. When the apparent size of the moon is larger, because it's closer. And when the apparent size of the sun is smaller, because it's farther, a tiny bit, then you get more totality. And when the moon is farther away, and thus a smaller angular size, you don't get a total eclipse, you get an annular eclipse where you see the ring of fire around the outside of it. Not as cool of an eclipse because it doesn't go as dark. So no, they're not exactly 400 times different in size. So none of that has any implication because you're just wrong about it. This is what's crazy. The very first time that I debated Witsit, he made that same lie. And I gave him the same thing then as I just did, and he sticks with the lie. So it's an intentional lie.
But at the same time, it isn't really about someone could say, well, I already believe in God. Well, yeah, but a lot of people don't. And atheism is the number one growing ideology, if you can even call it that, which results in nihilism and apathy and makes for perfect enslavement. So this is incredibly.
I don't know how that makes for perfect enslavement. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Important. And when you look into the motion part, we were 100% undeniably lied to and misled about that situation. We're told
we were 100% not. Austin is the one that's lying.
That we know the solar system's a fact, and it's been proven the Earth moves around the sun. But in reality, you can look at Stephen Hawking, Edwin Hubble, Albert Einstein, Arthur Eddington, every major prominent astrophysicist or astronomer in history, and they will tell you, oh, we can never disprove that the Earth's in the center. You can't actually.
They don't say that. More lies. So this is. Oh, I need to put him on screen. This is just him cherry picking quotes out of context. Again, that's all he does, right? He thinks he can prove things by cherry picking quotes. So dishonest.
Prove that the Earth is moving. It's equally viable or more viable. We prefer to not go that route because Stephen Hawking said on grounds of modesty, and Edwin Hubble called it horrific and intolerable, a special and unique position. So that's a philosophical decision that they made for the world and then misled the world about what it actually was. So that's important. And we can obviously get into the specifics. You can 100% prove the Earth is not moving. It was done in 1887 with Michelson-Morley.
There's the big lie. So Michelson-Morley 100% requires that that ether exists, but Michelson-Morley was a test for whether or not ether existed. And if it was the case, don't you think that the people that did the experiment themselves would have somehow declared that to be the conclusion? Of course not. All right. I'm going to pull up pull it up, look at the actual paper. And I want, this is it's really important to read. And I think that it's kind of missed when you read it. I've pointed it out before. So if you've seen it before, then this is a review. And if you haven't, then super. So they knew that the Earth was moving around the sun. They knew the velocity that it was moving around the sun. This was a test to see the effect that the movement of the sun or the Earth in relation to their hypothesized ether would cause something to happen to light. And they reference in the very first paragraph here, the very first sentence, the discovery of the aberration of light was soon followed by an explanation according to the emission theory. The discovery of the aberration of light. What's the aberration of light? It's James Bradley from 1727. Here it is, aberration. Here's the paper. From James Bradley, 1725, a pastor. So you can't say that there's some religious thing about it, that the atheists are trying to hide something. This is a pastor. So a letter from the Reverend Mr. James Bradley, civilian professor of astronomy at Oxford, and FRS, I don't know what that is, to Dr. Edmund Halley. Oh, who's that? After astronomy, anyway, giving an account of the new discovered motion of the fixed stars. So I'm not going to read this whole thing here, but this talks about the aberration of light, which is a measurement of the movement of the Earth relative to the light as it comes in, and different stars in different positions of the sky have a different amount of aberration and have a different response. If they're straight up, they trace a circle, and if they're on the celestial equator, they do a line, and everywhere in between, they do an ellipse. I don't know if this particular one he draws an ellipse in this paper here. I love these old papers. I love the typography in these. But that's a different topic for a different day. So, all right, so here he's detailing the amount of aberration. And I don't know if he's drawing pictures. No, anyway, he's not drawing pictures. Anyway, back to Michelson Morley. So they reference that from a century and a half prior, how we know that the Earth is moving around the sun. Then they talk about the emission theory. So the emission theory is a different theory of light, that they're particles. Ooh, what's that? Yes, that they're particles. Not that they're waves yet, just that they're particles. And that was popular in the 1700s. By the time we get up to the late 1800s, when Michelson Morley was doing this, it was a wave theory. They thought light was just a wave moving through a medium. So that's different than the emission theory. So James Bradley was explained using the emission theory. Somebody had to, with the wave theory, had to make it make sense, right? So the effect was attributed to a simple composition of the velocity of light with the velocity of the Earth in its orbit. They knew it. They weren't wondering it. This isn't a test of whether or not the Earth is moving. This is a test of what the movement of the Earth does in relation to the speed of light, because of the ether, the hypothesized ether, and the Earth moving through it. So the difficulties in this apparently sufficient explanation were overlooked until after an explanation of the undulatory theory of light was proposed. That's the ether, undulatory theory. So that it undulates, the waves undulate. That's what they're talking about. This new explanation was at first almost as simple as the former. Undulation and emission, both, they have a fixed speed as they travel through space. But it failed to account for the fact proved by experiment that the aberration was unchanged when observations were made with a telescope filled with water. That's Airy's failure. That's a prior experiment that also was a test of the undulating theory. He actually mentions undulating theory in Airy's paper. So it failed. Ether, the undulating theory, proposed that it would not be this, that it would have a different result than it did. Not getting into the details. For if the tangent of the angle of aberration is the ratio of the velocity of the Earth to the velocity of light, that's the relationship. Tangent, they're making a triangle. Then, since the lateral velocity in water is 3/4 its velocity in a vacuum, the aberration observed with a water telescope should be 4/3 of its true value. Okay, so that opening statement there makes it very clear that Michelson, Morley, and nobody else, and everybody else knew that the Earth was already moving. So this couldn't have proved that the Earth was stationary because it was a test on whether or not the ether existed. The only way this could prove that the Earth was stationary is if the ether had previously been absolutely confirmed. And if there had not been really solid confirmation that the Earth was moving. So it's a dramatic misunderstanding, intentional or not, don't know on Austin's part, but we do get into an intentional misrepresentation in a little bit here.
And it's been replicated many times since then. And what happened was they brought in Albert Einstein, flipped physics all on its head to keep the Earth moving.
Did you notice he said they brought in Albert Einstein? They. Who's they? Who's they? So in 1887, this experiment didn't work. If they were in charge, why didn't they stop the experiment from happening? So they brought in Einstein. I don't know how they could have done that. How did they pick a non-notable guy of the wrong kind of, for the time, the wrong kind of heritage? They wouldn't pick that, right? Whoever they are. Unless they are of that particular heritage. You see, now that particular vertical of people in charge of they is the only one that Witsit can allow, right? Zionists. He cannot say it's Jesuits because Jesuits and Zionists don't get along, right? That Jesuits are Catholic, Zionists are Jewish. They're not the same people. There's no overlap. It can't be Freemasons. They're not Zionists, right? So he just declared that it has to be Zionists because they brought in Einstein. The particular heritage now requires that they be Zionists, right? I mean, this is important. He's on this particular platform that he's on because they are totally pro they being in charge of everything. He's like, oh, I'm going to talk about they. Right?
Around the sun. And that's why all physics is at a standstill now, because they threw out the electrical field theory understanding of a background medium or what is.
So they threw out the understanding, and he says that all of science is at a standstill. It's not. Science is moving faster than ever. It's ridiculously fast. It might even be too fast. Look at what has happened since then. Special relativity led to quantum physics, right? Special relativity to quantum physics. Quantum physics and our understanding of quantum physics enabled us to create the computer that you're watching me on right now. So science is not at a standstill. Since then, and the electromagnetic understanding of everything is well understood today. We do just fine without the undulating theory of light, which failed at every turn. I've got here the book I used, Electromagnetism. This book here, there's nothing wrong with this book, Austin. This is how the computer you used to talk today was designed. It's in here. So this doesn't include ether, by the way. Oh my goodness. Boba Sweat said, I'm watching you on a Samsung smart fridge right now. That is my life goal has been accomplished. I've always wanted to be watched on a fridge.
It's called the ether. They kept the Earth moving through space. And now we have, this compartmentalization of physics that doesn't all work together. So
his understanding of physics is not even kindergarten.
To not overload everyone. My point there is that's one major part of it. Yeah, if the Earth is in the center of the universe, it had to be created. And I get you could argue that it would have to be created either anyway, but you have a much stronger illusory position of confidence when you say, oh, well, the universe is so big that the Earth is this tiny speck of dust in this ever-expanding universe.
I just want to highlight this one from Kango 44 right here. Right there. Yes. That one right there. Yes, Kango. Thank you. 100%. Don't like you. I don't like people that disparage. Makes me mad. Makes me, one of the best videos I've ever seen was when Alex Jones was in a restaurant somewhere and somebody went up to him and confronted him live right there in the restaurant and got him booed out of the restaurant for what he did for that right there. Good on that person, right? People died. And to say that they did it for some purpose, they can't keep a secret at all. They can't keep a BJ a secret. There's no way the many people involved in that particular type of thing could have done anything and kept it a secret. So, all right. That's a different show. That show would get me booted. I said what I want to say.
And just based on mere chances and probability, the Earth could exist and be habitable, right? And that is the type of thinking that leads people to the idea that, well, no, this place wasn't created. It was just random chance. And it's literally the Copernican principle ideology, which is that the Earth does not occupy a special or unique position. So if the Earth's in the center of the universe, obviously someone had to put it there. It's the most special, the most unique position. There is nothing like it.
So he's starting with the conclusion, right? He's saying it has to be that the Earth is in a special place. And now I'm going to only accept things that line up with that. And yes, Larry John, that island was real. It did exist. And most definitely stuff happened there. But that's completely beside the point. And that's not an absolute condemnation of everybody that ever went there either. You don't know. Right? It's a lot of conjecture.
That means that us humans who have domain on the Earth are obviously very special as well. People do not believe, quote unquote, believe in flat Earth. They stopped believing in the globe, and they then realized, oh wow, this has spiritual.
No. They totally believe in flat Earth. They hug their Gleason map pillow to sleep every night.
People do not go and seek out flat Earth because they want the Bible to be literally true or something. It's quite the opposite. People find out that the scriptures are now viable again, and so then it also comes into curvature. Right, and so that's the two major things, and we falsified the radius value. So when it comes,
no, you didn't. And this is the same thing. Flat Earthers suck at science. They really suck at science. So, and when he says that, he's talking about the same thing he's always talking about. Let's see here. I'll get a good one here. There you go. This one. He's talking about the black swan. He says that the top left one here falsifies the curvature, but it doesn't, because all it does is it proves that refraction exists. So let's see here. There you go. Yeah, so he wants to only focus on the one on the top. That's the one that's impossible, he thinks. But the bottom one, never mind. These are not the droids you're looking for. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That doesn't exist according to Witsit. Okay, well, maybe there's some word salad to explain why things are blocked bottom up. But definitely no plausible mechanism or no physics to explain it. Here you go. We see exactly what the globe predicts. And yes, which image is more refracted? All right. Where so the really cool one. Yeah, I think I didn't mark it. I have a whole folder of like memes and things that people have made. Anyway. Oh yeah. And Witsit killed the Black Swan. You know how Witsit killed the Black Swan? Here's how he killed it.
Refraction always happens. That's why it's important. Well, if you can't adequately account for refraction, you can't make a claim about the apparent location. Okay, I'm claiming that you haven't even actually accounted for all the variables, and you're touting your trigonometry that literally hand waves dismiss one of the most important variables when it comes to perception, which is refraction. And never in your dissecting of the observations do you even account for refraction that we know for a fact to be present. Refraction increases proportionate to the distance. Refraction, which we immediately and adamantly claim is always present because there's temperature fluctuation and atmospheric conditions that are consistently affecting what you perceive.
Thank you, Witsit, for destroying the Black Swan. I got a $20 super chat from BM Furball. Thank you to BM. He says, Alex claims anywhere he goes, he is constantly thanked and given praises. 99 to 1 people love him, per Alex. Alex, if you want to enjoy the insanity of Jones with critical analysis, listen to the podcast Knowledge Fight. All right. Well, thank you for that, BM. Your Pound Repka video was very good. And I did not go for Pound Repka because I knew that Alan would. And instead I used the measurements that are precise to 1 centimeter. Amazing precision in measuring clock variations. The ability to measure to that precise of a level just by how fast a clock ticks is so cool. Anyway, all right. Caucasian Sensation says that Witsit doesn't get $#IT. I agree. I think you're right there. All right. Now, you might not know this, but I'm blocking. I have it strategically placed so that right to the side of his microphone, you don't see the logo of the channel he's on. Oh, we've got another one here. I'll read this. Black Bro 2K for $20 says, is Witsit a believer or a grifter? I oscillate back and forth between him grossly misunderstanding science due to cherry picking or hyper aware of selecting things he needs to grift. Good. It's yes. Which is it? It's a great question. I think the answer lies in pathological liar narcissist. I think that is the position. A pathological liar does not, they tell the lies enough that they tend to believe their own lies. So I think he believes his own lies. He's also not nearly as bright as he wants people to think he is, as he presents himself as, and he is able to memorize things and to recall them quickly. He's able to string together words in a decent way. So he gives this impression, this front of being smart, but he's not. He can't do math. He sucks at math. He can't he can't think in 3 dimensions. He can't see the connections like, this one's real important. Okay. Good night. You want to give me knuckles? Sure. All right. Thanks. She's going to bed. I didn't have to do that too on camera. So I was initially going to debate Captain Cook tomorrow night, and our bedroom is right there, right? Literally the head of our bed is right above me, and I'm loud. You met me in person, I can get loud. And even when I'm not loud, I'm still loud. And it's right there. So when I'm debating, she's right up there. She's like, I can't sleep. So then my kid is like, hey, you can sleep in the camper, then you won't hear him. Like, oh yeah. Anyway, so on Friday she might do that so that she can get some sleep. Okay, where was I? I think Austin believes his lies. So, and he's not as bright as he thinks he is. All right, so the connections he misses these connections, and I think he's really missing them. Right? Later he's going to claim that the claim of relativity is that the apparatus shrunk. That's not the claim of relativity. I'll get into what that is later. The important thing is that he's been told that's not the claim of relativity. So is he intentionally leaving it off because it suits his grift? Or is he leaving it off because he believes it? Or is he leaving it off because he's not that bright? I don't know. I tend to go with the he believes himself. He gets some indignation when people accuse him of lying. It's like, how dare you? Right? When people accuse me of lying, I say the same thing. Point out the lie and give the supporting evidence. And they always go silent. But Austin, you lie. I can cite the spots where you lie and give supporting evidence. That's what I'm doing in this stream right now. Isn't that great? Okay, anyway, I got this mug in Colorado. These are the mugs I like. It's got that really thick wall, so you pour the coffee in it, and it warms up the mug, and it cools down the coffee. I bought a bunch. Every time I see one, I buy one. I bought 3 when I went to Colorado. Okay, I got another one here from Kango44. Wow. For 50 New Zealand dollars, says people that find the world overwhelming are drawn to conspiracies like Flat Earth. It gives them some level of control, special knowledge, etc. Witsit is grifter that preys on the vulnerable to feed his narcissism and need to feel important. And yes, this today was Witsit feeling important. Because, right to this. My conjecture that he's not had a success up to Flat Earth. He had not had a successful time in life. I don't know, overshadowed by older siblings, bad relationships with, elders or something like that. He has talked about how he did not like the school he went to. He went to a different school. He liked that better. He brags up that he got a full ride scholarship to a college, as if it's an academic scholarship, Ooh, puff up your chest there a little bit there, Witsit. But no, it was don't know if it was a full ride. I do not believe for a second it was a full ride. It was a football scholarship. And the reason why I don't believe it's a full ride is because the school he went to has very limited numbers of full ride scholarships to give away. And typically what they do is they chop their limited number of full rides into partials, quarter, half, 10%, things like that. They're only allowed to give so many away. And then he did not play his freshman year anyway. He was redshirted, and then he quit school. So why was that? All of that completely fell apart. But he still likes to puff up his chest like he got a full ride scholarship to college. Whatever that means to him, right? But I think I know what that means. It means that he just needs to say something to feel good about himself. So, Tony Regime says a parrot can memorize words and repeat them in memorized sentences. Yes, they can. I think that's what he's doing. Professor Parks, PhD, for $10 says Witsit has, more than once, claimed he is on a mission from God. He is God's prophet, meant to bring the message of Flat Earth to the masses. He is either unhinged or vile or both. Both. Yep. Ion says, I could just debate in the camper. I could debate in the camper. I've done one live stream in the camper. Oh, don't bring that up. That was a sad day. Okay, now I got to tell you why. So the reason why it was sad is because that was the last time I spoke with Schrodinger's cat. We had done myself, Kat, and Craig had done a video. I was in the camper. We were in a parking lot, in a Walmart parking lot. My family was went to a movie. We were in Tennessee, not far from where Witsit grew up. And yeah, and then later that night, Schrodinger's cat. That was it. So anyway, but no, I mean, I'd still debate in the camper. It's a different camper now. So could have went to uni, bro. So, and you know, who is it that says that, you know, that always complains about education being indoctrination? It's the people that never got education. How do they know they didn't get it? And of course, the indoctrination part of it is a implied wrong information. What's indoctrination? It's giving information to people accepting that without question. And yep, when you're in kindergarten, yes, I'm going to tell you something. We're not going to research it. We're not going to go and find out all the reasons why it's happened. We're going to tell you the information and you're going to have to take it. And then, you know, in kindergarten, you're not testing kids. But you know what? At some point, you start testing kids on the information they've been handed and expected to produce the knowledge, right? That's elementary school. This is the level that flat earthers have achieved. That's all that they think that education is. Because once you start getting even into junior high and high school, you are needing to figure things out for yourself. Here's a story problem. Figure it out. Right? And it's not wrong, right? So like I said, the implication of indoctrination is that it's claiming to be wrong. Well, if it's right, that's not a problem. If it's wrong, that's a problem. So I'm going to tell you that 2 times 2 equals 4 and 2 times 3 equals 6. And I'm not going to give you the mathematical proof of that right now. You can do that later when you've covered the necessities to review mathematical proofs. But we're not there yet. You're in 2nd grade. But you get farther along, you go, here's a story problem. Betty has 2 apples. And Bob has 2 apples. And Fred has 2 apples. There are 3 of them. How many apples do they have? 6. 6 apples, right? Because you multiplied 2 times 3. That was indoctrinated into you, but it's correct. Now, if you want to rebut that, if you want to examine the truthfulness of that, you're welcome to. But in 3rd grade, we're not covering that now. So they don't understand, though, that when you get into higher levels, it's not indoctrination anymore. They're presenting you things and you're expected to figure it out and advance the process yourself. So, all right, that jumped ahead. We got Melodic Lyrics says, just finished watching the Derp Fest with Alan. Have some of my funds from NASA to make up from the derp you endured. Thank you for that, Melodic Lyrics. History News 1 got a full ride to college courtesy of the CTA, the Chicago Transit Authority. I don't know what the CTA is. Okay. Let's see. We got Icy Spin says it would take us about 18,000 years to reach Proxima Centauri b, closest Earth-like planet, with current tech. Estimated 2 sextillion Earth-like planets in the universe. But we are the center? Well, yes, of course. They just reject all of that. They have to reject all of that because they start with the conclusion that we are the center. The problem is, if you're on the ocean, if you're just on a ship on the ocean, you're nowhere near land, you look like, to you are in the center of the ocean. That is an egotistical position, right? Super prideful. We'll get into a little Witsit pride later. Emerson Biggins says, yep, right there. All right, battle against misinformation says, please continue the battle against misinformation, sir. I think you meant misinformation. Thank you for that. I shall. RT96 says, show me -2 ice creams, Sleeping Warrior. Oh my gosh. Oh, it was the bus. Okay, there it is. I got it. Okay, you are correct. It is Chicago Transit. I've ridden the trains in Chicago. I love it. We would I didn't get there often, and Minneapolis only has some pretty limited trains here. I've only ridden it once. But in Chicago, I've ridden it many times, and we'd stand there and try to not touch anything while it accelerates and goes around turns. You learn a lot about relative motion doing that. Okay, let's get back to this.
Well, all the model works so well. Well, that's also not true, and we can get into it. Every single part of the globe Earth model took hundreds of years to theoretically patch together, and
doesn't make it wrong.
It doesn't work. From the core all the way to the universe, none of it works. It's not even close.
Doesn't work? Well, Austin, we can predict the exact path of totality of the eclipse using the globe model. You can't using the flat Earth model, so it 100% works.
And that's why you have dark matter and dark energy making up 90.
Dark matter and dark energy are hypotheses. And this goes again to his complete misunderstanding of science. There is the galactic rotation problem that we don't see enough matter to explain the speed of the rotation of the galaxies. So a hypothesis is put forward of dark matter to explain as a hypothesis of what's going on there. It's one hypothesis. There are other hypotheses. It's the leading one. A lot of people think that's the most likely one, but there are other hypotheses. It's the frontiers of science. There's always going to be frontiers of science. And just because we don't have the frontiers of science understood yet, doesn't mean that everything else related to it is automatically wrong.
6% of the universe, and it's just an illusion that we're in the center because everything's accelerating away from each other. All these.
It's just an illusion that you're in the center of the ocean when there's no land around.
Crazy theories where if you just have the Earth in the center, you don't need any of that, and it matches all astronomical observations. You don't.
It doesn't match. Oh my gosh, it matches no astronomical observation. What time will the sun set, Austin?
I want to claim that everything is an illusion. So why were we not told that? That should be a very interesting question.
Because it's a lie.
Question for the audience. You were lied to about cosmology.
No, we weren't. You can't identify one incorrect thing about cosmology, Austin. You are the one lying.
Like just on its face, even if you want to believe we're moving through space and stuff. So, and then the curvature, obviously, if the radius value is falsified, the entire model is falsified.
Well, if I falsified the flat Earth by showing that the sun could never set, then I falsified the whole model. So by your own logic, I've already destroyed flat Earth. There is no flat Earth. And falsification is independent of replacement. I don't even have the burden of proof, according to you, to prove the globe. Of course, I can. Right? All I need to do to prove the globe, your style, is to falsify one thing by not understanding it is a perfectly valid way according to you, but I do understand it. And I know Austin likes to say, well, you don't understand the model for sunsets. Oh, really? Well, what time will the sun set? You can't tell me the time. Therefore, you don't even have a model to falsify. You didn't even get there yet. So if a model is falsified, it's no longer a model. If the model doesn't even freaking exist, that's even worse.
Right, because gravity uses that, day and night cycle uses that, everything uses that. Alleged radius of orbit to go to space. All of these claims require that radius value to be true. The distance is on the globe. So if it's untrue, the entire model is untrue. So that's a stillman of our position, is that we went to look for evidence of the globe, and it wasn't.
And you didn't understand it.
There, and falsification is independent of replacement.
There it is. You know he's going to say that. He has to. It's his mantra. It's his favorite thing. He's not there claiming not globe. He's there claiming flat. He has the burden of proof.
And I'll say this analogy, maybe it'll land. It's like if I went and flipped through my parents' closet and I found adoption papers, and I'm like, walk up to you and say, dude, Harrison, you'll never believe it, man. My whole life is a lie, bro. Those aren't really my parents. I was adopted. And you say, well, who are your real parents then? I say, I don't know. I just found out that they're not my real parents. I just falsified they're my parents. I don't really know who the real ones are. And you could say, wait, you think everyone in town's in on it? Everyone in the church is in on it?
That's not how adoptions work. Not everybody's in on it. Some people were, but not everybody.
In on it. No, they believe the lie. They believe that those are my parents. And if you said, well, until you can tell me who your real parents are, I'm not going to believe that those aren't your real parents. That would be ridiculous, right? Obviously, the falsification that they're my parents stands.
But that's not your claim. And it's the deflection. If you have to fight so hard to not provide evidence supporting your claim, it's obvious that you don't have evidence. It's obvious that you're wrong. And your refusal to face on, address the evidence necessary for flat Earth is proof that it's not there.
And on its own. That's the way that this situation goes. Frankly and respectfully, I would say it's somewhat coping. Do not focus on that. Focus on the evidence or lack thereof for the positive globe Earth claim, which is antithetical to all evidence and experience.
Antithetical to all evidence. I can do celestial navigation using the globe. It uses the radius value and it's correct. You can't do it. You said you were gonna. Weeks ago. Months ago, you still didn't.
And then focus on random questions like the meme says, oh, how does everything in the universe work? Oh, you don't know? Well, checkmate, stupid flirt, right? If you've ever seen that meme, that is.
Yes. You need to explain everything that we explain at least as well. You need to be able to do celestial navigation. You need to be able to explain the specific magnitude of the downward acceleration. You need to explain what time the sun will set, right? But let's do this. One thing. You can't even do one thing. Not all. Let's do one. Pick one. Pick one thing that the flat Earth predicts about an observation that's going to happen in the future. A specific thing. Something that the globe can do. Just pick one. You can't even do that. So for you to go around and say, oh, it doesn't, we falsified it, it works better, you can't do it. No. You can't touch. You can't touch us because we're too legit. We're too legit to quit. Sorry. You can't touch us. Oh, battle against misinformation says Flurf logic. Evidence is lies, and lies are evidence. There you go. Did people on that show like Witsit? So the guy that he was talking to was not buying it. We'll get to he's coming up here in a little bit. This is Austin's opening.
Isn't a proper way to go about it. So that's kind of a lot of the meta arguments there. I don't really see this being a successful PSYOP. I think that it's done quite the opposite. And people should just step back and kind of look at the evidence for what it is. And that's what I encourage people to do. And just like you said, I will say, just like with everything else, like with the pandemic, we got gaslit the whole time.
All right, I'm going to skip past some of that. See, he's talking to the audience there.
Say that the Earth is flat and stationary, that has a burden. And it's substantiated with every... So long story short, when you look into the actual alleged claim that the Earth is a spinning globe, which, again, is antithetical to experience. So you're saying, well, I think you have the burden of proof as well. I agree. If we say that the Earth is flat and stationary, that has a burden.
It does. But you know what he's not going to do? He's not going to meet that burden.
And it's substantiated with every observation and all-day experience that we have.
But he doesn't actually provide one. He says, and this goes to the narcissism. What does a lying narcissist do? They lie. They tell that, oh, here's how it is. Right? Here's how it is. And you have to believe that, right? But then they never can support it. They can't substantiate that. So yeah, he has the burden, but does he have measurements of flatness? No. Does he have surveyors actually doing the work and showing flatness? No. Does he have any evidence for flat? No, it never does. Everything is a misunderstanding of the globe, a misapplication of the globe, and saying, here's the prediction of the globe when it's not the prediction of the globe. That's all that they do. I want to know, you need to provide us, what's the prediction for flat Earth? What's the prediction for flat Earth for a 6 foot high observer over water looking at something that's 10 miles away? How much is the bottom obstructed? What's the geometry for that? What's the plausible mechanism for that? You got nothing. All you do is you look at the globe and say, oh, well, let's intentionally ignore a bunch of things that are definitely part of it. And then, oh, look, oh, it didn't match that. Oh, you didn't do it right. BM Furball says Flat Earth predicts continued denials of facts. I win. Indeed it does. And Black Bro 2K says, how are his openings never an appeal to authority? Well, I don't know, bro. But he never, I mean, this whole time he never once brought evidence.
Everyone experiences the Earth is stationary. Everyone experiences that the stuff in the sky moves in relation to the Earth not.
Oh, that's his evidence. Everybody experiences the Earth to be stationary. Well, so you know what, Austin? I say everyone experiences the Earth to be rotating. I say everyone experiences the Earth to be spherical. It's just as good as your baseless claim. I can back mine up. You can't.
Moving. We fly planes like the Earth is flat and stationary. We build bridges, runways, railways, all engineering as if the Earth is flat. Everything that we do is if this Earth is stationary and flat. The horizon, I mean.
Oh, I missed a lie. He said that that all the engineering projects are use flat. No, they don't. Let's see here. There it is. So I have a list. So if you have an engineering project that you can reference. Oh, that's a bit zoomed in, but well, that you can reference, and I'll add it here. So this is Daytona Speedway. So this is the actual engine. I need the actual like engineering part of it, or at least like this is talking in here somewhere about. There it is. So Witsit can't claim without lying that the Daytona Speedway didn't include the curvature of the Earth in it. So Daytona Rising designs and solutions had to compensate for 7 inches of the Earth's curvature. So there you go. So Austin, you lied. Now this is this doesn't give the details, but you know what does give the details? LIGO actually gives the details in here. I'll have to this from Blue Marble Science went over this. It's fantastic. So go to his channel and look at his stuff on LIGO. Yeah, so these engineering plans here, right here. So this right here includes the curvature of the Earth in the actual planning of LIGO right here. It's 4 kilometers. And they had to deal with the elevation, and it peaks in the middle on one of these, and then on this other one here, the one that goes the other direction. Maybe this isn't the document. One goes like north-south, one goes east-west, and the other one starts at the high part and then goes down. So that's not it. Anyway, so if you have an engineering project that you can do, send it to me, or even better yet, find Kenji, the Kenji OG. The OG Kenji on Discord, because he's my webmaster and he can put it on there for me. So
it comes from the word horizontal. So the default empirical position is that the Earth is flat and stationary.
No, the default is that the Earth is rotating and spherical, Austin. I can say it just like you.
Right? And that the sun and the stars and the moon, they move over top of us.
And that the sun and the star and the moon all move because of the Earth's rotation. I can just say that too.
There's a claim that comes in and says, well, that's actually an illusion. Right? And everything is back. So that would have.
All right, so they're going to a commercial break. They're selling their stuff. Why is it that all conspiracy theorists want to get healthy stuff, right? It's always the same thing. That's what Samuel Rowbottom sold. If you bought his stuff, you would never die. Of course, Rowbottom died. So, all right.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're skipping the next commercial break, so we got a solid 25 minutes to do open discussion with myself and Austin Witsit. Again, you can follow Austin at Witsit Gets It on Twitter and witsitgetsit.com. I lost my paper that says it, but that's right? Well, yeah, at Witsit Gets It. Okay. So yeah, open discussion time. Obviously, we both brought a bunch of stuff in our opening statements. I guess to me, again, every debate I've watched from Flat Earth sort of has the same paradigm, the same dynamic. It's somebody like yourself that's arguing for Flat Earth, and then there's like the Bill Nye the Science Guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson wannabe. And frankly, I don't really care about the scientific arguments as much when it comes to whether experiments are valid or whether the physics checks out. I really do just go down to like basic observation and logic and what would be necessary to cover this sort of thing up. And we can get into the psyop aspect in just a little bit. But like the moon is a sphere, right? Can we agree on that? Because I mean, to me, it's pretty undeniable. The moon is in fact a sphere that we can all see. Do you agree with that?
Well, I've never seen the other side of the moon, but I would agree that it looks somewhat.
You don't need to see the other side to know that it's a sphere. What an idiot.
Spherical, sure.
Okay.
But I've replicated a moon like with polarization.
He's not replicated a moon because he's not shown the features of the moon. All right, hold on. Let's see. I have all right, there it is. So just a second here. Let me set this up. There you go. All right. So the moon right here. Lunar libration right there. That's how we know one of the ways that the Earth or that the moon is a sphere. It's not possible for a disk to look like that. It's not possible for a plasma blob to look like that. This is a whole bunch of pictures taken over the course of a year. So real photographs of the moon. Look at that. It changes size. It's not the same size as the sun. And then here we have 3 different photos of the moon through a telescope, or I don't know what exactly took the picture, but on the top you can see the Mare Humboldtianum. Sorry if I mispronounced that. On the top there is pretty well seen. Then in the middle one, you can see it's getting foreshortened. And then on the top video, the bottom photo, it's completely missing. You can't see it at all. So not only is the moon definitely spherical, it librates a little bit, and this is unchallenged. It's not what Austin is about to say.
To whether experiments are valid or whether the physics checks out, I really do just go down to like basic observation and logic and what would be necessary to cover this sort of thing up. And we can get into the psyop aspect in just a little bit. But like the moon is a sphere, right? Can we agree on that? Because I mean, to me, it's pretty undeniable. The moon is in fact a sphere that we can all see. Do you agree with that?
Well, I've never seen the other side of the moon, but I would agree that it looks somewhat spherical, sure.
Okay.
But I've replicated a moon like with polarization where it looks like a sphere, and you can walk over there and put your hand right through it, right?
But it doesn't look like this. You need to replicate more of it than just what polarization. This isn't due to polarization.
It's a projection. Just with electromagnetic polarization in the atmosphere, you could have I don't know what the moon is, but I would agree, yeah, it does. It's certainly round and look like it could be a sphere. I've never seen the other side of it before, so I can't say I know it's a sphere, right?
Yeah, I can say 100%. I would bet anything. I'm not a betting person, but I bet anything that's a sphere. It's a safe bet.
We see the one side.
But the shadows on the moon certainly make it look like a sphere, right? I mean, unless you have another explanation for why the shadow moves the way it does across the moon. I mean, it basically has to be a sphere, right? I mean, are you saying the moon is a projection, or do you think it's a physical object?
I don't know what the moon is. I'm just saying I'm not, like, a lot of evidence to suggest that it's not particularly solid, actually. Like
there's no evidence for that.
Even the Astronomical Society.
Oh, he's about to lie.
Said that they've seen stars through the moon. There are
Nobody's ever seen a star through a moon. That's a blatant lie.
things called lunar waves.
So hold on. Who said that? The Astronomical Society?
I've never seen the other side of it before, so I can't say I know it's a sphere, right? Coincidentally, we see the one side.
But the shadows on the moon certainly make it look like a sphere, right? I mean, unless you have another explanation for why the shadow moves the way it does across the moon. I mean, it basically has to be a sphere, right? I mean, are you saying the moon is a projection, or do you think it's a physical object?
I don't know what the moon is. I'm just saying I'm not, like, a lot of evidence to suggest that it's not particularly solid, actually. Like even the Astronomical Society said that they've seen stars through the moon.
Okay. He claimed the Astronomical Society has seen stars through the moon. How much of a liar can you be, Austin? Every star that you can see, there's about 6,000 that we can see without a telescope. They're all named. Their positions are all known. What star was seen through the moon? None. You just lied. You're just a blatant liar.
There are things called lunar waves. The Terminator line, sometimes there will be things lit up on the other side of the Terminator line, right?
Just lies.
Which shouldn't be happening if it is a solid sphere with the actual shadow. I don't even claim to know that is quote unquote a shadow. We can replicate that with.
We don't care what you claim to know. You claim to know nothing about it. That's because you're an idiot. Austin, you're stupid. That's a sphere, and you deny it because it doesn't work for flat Earth. And so you'd be like, oh, I don't know what it is. When you definitely know what other things are with zero evidence, with solid evidence for the moon, you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. Yeah, because you're dumb. You're dumb, Austin.
With polarized lenses. It can just literally be like a plasma polarized lens, and it could be solid for all I know, and just be optically displaced within a medium. Both models, I think, because when you start hearing the stuff you've never heard, it sounds like I'm just making stuff up. But
you are.
No, but both models claim that the sun and the moon aren't actually where we see them, right? That they're apparent positions.
Oh my gosh. That has nothing to do with what the moon is made of. Deflection. He's getting nervous. Did you see him squirming a little bit there? He was nervous.
So that's interesting to know. It could be a solid sphere and just not where we see it. It could be relative to each observer based on their angle to it. So, but this is what I will say, that is actually kind of a meme. Normally people do want to, like, what's the moon? I don't know, man. I just know that the Earth is not what they said.
And that right there, that is the core of his deflection. Why can't you answer this specific thing about flat Earth? When you say the Earth is flat, there are specific ramifications of it. One of them being that our view to the moon, when you say that the Earth is flat, comes with that is that, you said it earlier, the moon is going in circles around over top the Earth. And we know that the moon is definitely a sphere, because that's what spheres look like. That's not what plasma look like. That's not what projections look like. That's not what disks look like. That's what a sphere looks like. So a sphere moving around over the top of your dirt pizza would have specific ramifications. People on opposite sides of it would see different phases of it, but that never happens. That falsifies flat Earth. And so your defense of that is, oh, I don't know what it is. It could be something else. No, it can't. If it could be something else, you need the empirical evidence for it being something else. The appeal to possibility is not a thing.
You know, I can ask you a question. You said you're just kind of into observation, right? That's what made me a flat earther, bro. Because I did not want to be a flat earther. Okay, let's just get that out. Like, it discredited everything I ever said, right? I'm like the conspiracy theorist of my family. So like all of a sudden I'm going to come around saying the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yes, of course. You're the conspiracy theorist of your family. And yes, you fell into the dumbest conspiracy theory there is.
I'm immediately discredited. So right. I went out and looked, though.
But he was already discredited. He said he was already the conspiracy theorist. Everybody in his family already knew, oh yeah, there's Austin. He's into that dumb stuff again.
Oh, you can see mountains from 300 miles away. They should be 2-3 miles below Earth curvature, and you can see them.
Well, we'll talk about curvature here in just a second. But, you know, again, it seems to me like you can see the moon, and it's pretty clear what it is. It's a rocky body. It's solid. You can see the craters. I mean, powerful telescope.
All right. I just got to... I foretold. I don't know. There was some doings that transpired with his sister. I'm not going to get into it. I'll just say I don't know.
Or even, you know, powerful cameras can zoom in quite a bit, and it's not a projection. It seems fairly solid to me. So, you know, to me, this is, you know, obviously just because the moon is a sphere doesn't mean the Earth is a sphere. And I know the argument that I've heard quite a bit is like, just because pool balls are circular doesn't mean the pool table is circular. Yeah, that's true. Just because the moon is a sphere does not mean that the Earth is a sphere, but it might kind of be like a hint, right? It might kind of be a clue. And it sort of means that if you use terms that I've heard where it's like this cartoon Earth of, you know, some idea of a orb suspended in nothing. It's like, well, that's not actually that ridiculous because we literally see one every day. I think the shadows obviously show that it's a sphere. And then you have things like the eclipse. And, you know, you brought up the fact that the sun is 400 times the size of the moon, but 400 times away. So it's, you know, a perfect match. But
it's not. And that's where Harrison here lacks the background in this. he did pretty good for not having the background in it, but it's really blatantly obvious that the moon and the sun are not the same size, and just the fact of the eclipses is all you need for that.
Yeah, I mean, that whether the sun is 400 times or 200 times, whatever the actual multiplication is, the fact is that with solar eclipses, you can see that the moon is clearly in front of the sun, and yet they're the same size. So whatever that calculus is, it is the distance is equal to the size difference. You know what I'm saying? So obviously the sun is behind the moon. The moon is an object that is apparently equivalent in size of the sun because of our distance from it and the perspective of it. And again, that sort of, I mean, if you accept that the moon is a sphere that's above the Earth, everything else kind of follows. I mean, I really think that debunks a lot of flat Earth. I mean, because then obviously the moon has to go away for a certain period of time. It matches up with the spinning of the Earth. I mean, if the moon is a sphere and is a solid object that's floating above the Earth and circling around it, I mean, that seems to me like it doesn't necessarily prove that we are circling around the sun, but it certainly proves that the Earth is a sphere and the moon is circling around us, right? That, to me, again, that's just imminently observable.
Like I said, it could be a sphere. It does somewhat look like a sphere. I will just say stars have been seen through the moon, it appears.
No. Again. Lies.
I think that reality is way more mind-blowing than we know, and people think they have answers to everything, but really when you look under the hood, there aren't answers for everything. But if we...
Nah, we don't claim answers for everything, but pretty much everything when it comes to the globe. We're pretty well understood on that, and you got nothing. The things that we can explain are innumerable, and a one-for-one match of things you can't explain.
kind of talk about that. If we use like Occam's razor, that which requires the least amount of assumptions is most likely to be true.
Occam's razor, that one which requires the least amount of assumptions is most likely to be true. Okay. There's what appears to be a sphere. Right there. There's no assumptions involved in this looking like a sphere. But Witsit said, well, it could be plasma, it could be a projection, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. Those are the assumptions that Occam's razor was talking about. By your own metric, they should be dismissed or put to the side. Occam's razor isn't a hard, fast thing. It's just, it's a guide for where to look when you're doing research. That's what I take to Occam's razor to be, right? You look where the least assumptions are. You say, all right, I'm going to start there. Might be right, might not. But Austin's using it as more than that. Well, yes, everything Austin says fails Occam's razor. Everything. Mandevil says Occam's razor does not ignore evidence. In fact, assumptions are anything outside of evidence. Yes, you take your evidence. Okay, here's the evidence I have. Now, to explain this some other phenomenon, well, this evidence is missing some things to explain it. So we need to have some hypothesized explanations. Those are the assumptions. So which one requires the most assumptions? Well, for the Earth, the moon being a sphere, we can't see the backside of it from Earth. Okay. Well, what assumption are we making if moon is sphere with the facts that we have from 100 years ago, right? Before space travel. We've got a collection of facts. I'll go here. We got a collection of facts about the moon. We could see libration. We could see its size changing. We could see it eclipsing the sun. So we can see all those things. So well, one assumption would be, let's assume that it's a sphere, but nobody's seen the backside of it, and its movement around somehow causes it to face us all the time. There's an assumption. Okay? Or take all of these things about the moon being solid and get rid of them. Get rid of all of them. And then start making up a whole bunch of assumptions. Assume plasma. Assume projection. Assume not being solid. Assume somehow, why is it that everybody sees the same part of the moon even if it's close? Well, there's a whole bunch of assumptions there. Yeah, Occam's razor doesn't work well for you, Austin. William Foley says Witsit is a wannabe cult leader short of a following and a remote compound. I said in the pre-Witsit days when it was Nathan Thompson going around, I said Nathan Thompson, if he had any charisma, would lead to a Jonestown. Right? Fortunately, Nathan Thompson doesn't really have any charisma, so Jonestown is not in the making for Thompson. I don't think Witsit has what's necessary to output a Jonestown either, but fortunately, so there are probably not in Flat Earth. Fortunately, there is Mark Braun who did want to have a Jonestown. So Mark Braun is the guy that literally thinks that he is Satan and he's a flat earther. He's been on YouTube promoting flat earth longer than everybody who's currently a flat earther on YouTube, and longer than Dubé, longer than Jaron, longer than Mark. In 2018, he wanted to bring a group of people to the North Pole to jump into what he called the Lake of Fire, literally. I don't know how that he wanted to have people jump into the Lake of Fire. If there was a Lake of Fire, that would have been Jonestown, but not. There isn't. It's just a bunch of freaking ice. So it could have been a Jonestown if they arranged to have a one-way trip. Drop us off and leave, don't come back. That would have been Jonestown. And he wanted to have 144,000. That would have been bigger than Jonestown. Seriously. He wanted to do that. He's still around. He's still making flat earth videos. But the whole 2018 thing didn't happen. Fortunately, nobody went. Nobody had that Jonestown experience that he was hoping for.
I mean, it is true. But we see the sun and the moon appear to be the same size. We have a night light.
There's the lie again.
And a daylight. And they're the same exact size in such an extent that we can get perfect total solar eclipses.
He doesn't even know what he's talking about. Solar eclipses have different times of totality because their apparent size are different.
And they claim that is just a coincidence based on the way that a Mars-sized body hit the Earth and broke it up, and a little piece of debris stuck around the Earth, and then gravity coalesced into a sphere that stopped around 238,000 miles away. And just coincidentally, the size of that rock matches up with the size of the sun optically, even though it's 400 times smaller than it is.
That is the case, right? I mean, it is the same size prospectively as the sun, but clearly it's not on the same plane as the sun since it passes in front of it. So whatever that differential is, it has to be. I mean, that is accurate, right?
Sure, but if it was just barely behind it, it would look like the same size. So they could be very similar distances in the same size, right?
Very similar distances. Think about that, right? And this is generally the flat Earth dirt pizza. Earth or sun and moon are actual objects, the Rowbottom version of it, the Eric Dubé version of flat Earth, right? Once they get into the cult, they move on, they figure out, right? It's the sales brochure, right? The disc, the sun and moon are 3,000 miles up, they're 32 miles in diameter, right? That's the sales brochure version of flat Earth. But once they get into it, they figure out, oh, wait, none of that actually works. So all of the things that they watched in the 200 proofs from Dubé, turns out flat earthers don't talk about those things once they've been in for a little while, because all of those have been trivially falsified. They still don't mind that new converts are watching that to get in, right? But then they got to take them under their wing, like, oh, silly new person. None of us think that the sun and moon are actually doing that anymore. We figured out that wasn't true, but I'm glad that that's how you got deceived into the flat earth. Now let me tell you the way to avoid talking about that flat earth destruction. What's the name of the fire jump flurf Satan? That would be Mark Braun, Braun. He's literally a plumber from Florida. Icy Spin, does Austin explain how a projection could be projected to an orbital sphere? To be an orbital sphere, does the source of the projection travel at a rate of exactly one orbit per day? And where is it? Of course not. And that's That's the thing that people who cannot think in 3 dimensions fail. Grant for a second that it's a projection. Okay, there's some way that the moon is projected onto something, even though for flat Earth, at it doesn't matter what height it is, it's higher than where air is. It has to be. And so it can't be projected onto air. Is it projected onto the dome? Okay, whatever. Let's say that there's something it's projected onto. It still doesn't work, because then the projection is a flat projection. And so let's say that projection is doing this, right? It's a projection that's putting that up, right? But that still doesn't work, because here I have, this is my phone charger, Anchor inductive charger. Here's a disc. Here's a disc, right? Now, if you are right there, right, then it's a circle. But if you're over here, it's no longer a circle, right? I can't move it that far, but I'll have to keep it on camera and just turn it. But yeah, it's your orientation to it changes. Everybody on Earth has a different orientation to the disk moon. So here you have the disk moon. It's an ellipse to you here. It's a wider ellipse here, and it's a circle here. It cannot be a projection. We falsified your model again. Therefore, it's wrong again. You see, Austin, your whole falsification thing doesn't get you very far, because every single thing that you toss out there, all the word salad you chuck up, gets falsified immediately. I see spin. Yes, of course. I failed to consider it would still be elliptical to everyone except the few where the source is. Yes. Or if you have to be orthogonal to it. Then it would be a circle. Everywhere else it's an ellipse.
Well, no, they'd have to be a little bit, because they are exactly the same size and different. And again, I don't think that just because the moon is a sphere, that means that I trust that they understand how it was created. Or, the moon could be hollow for all we know. The whole, it rang like a bell when they crashed something into it.
It really doesn't matter how the moon formed. It doesn't matter how it came to be approximately the same size. None of that matters, right? That we can't get into the TARDIS and go watch how it happened. So we can only do it through inference, right? It's a step removed from actually going and measuring the shape of the Earth today, and actually going and measuring whether or not the moon is physical by bouncing radar off of it or light off of it, or whether or not it is a certain size by measuring it and its distance and measuring the angular size, and then determining, well, those are 2 out of 3 parts of the angular size formula. Well, now we know the other part of it. So, anyway.
There have been a lot of stories. I don't think we know everything about the moon's entire life cycle, but I do think it's a sphere in the sky, which would hint that there are other spheres in the sky. It would hint that that's a possibility. It would make me question why the moon doesn't fall when everything else falls to Earth because of gravity.
Why does it not fall? He has no answer.
It would hint that either it's not affected by the force of gravity, or it's being affected in a different way, which to me explains orbit pretty well, pretty succinctly. I want to show a couple images here, because this again sort of illustrates to me that not only is the moon a sphere, but it's being lit by a light source that is extremely far away. We can go to some of the pictures called Ball and Moon. And there are a couple of these, but you can do it yourself. If you see the moon during the daytime and you hold a ball up, they have essentially the same shadow that will be cast on the ball as the moon, because they're both being lit by the same source, which would be the sun, which would be extremely far away. So how would this happen without an extremely far away sun lighting both the ball and the moon?
Well, for one, they actually don't look entirely the same, right?
But they do. just the little, oh, they don't look entirely the same. So now he requires, this is so funny, he requires a high level of precision in this, right? When flat Earth experiments, they never do any precision, but now you need the precision.
Right, you actually see that there's a gradient of light on a
pretty similar, though.
Yes, a gradient of light. Exactly. That's what you see on that ball. You see a gradient of light. He said it while it's on the screen. There's a gradient of light on that ball. There's a gradient of light on the moon, and the gradients match, Austin.
They are somewhat similar. Yes. That's how we made the model, right? We looked at the sky and then we created the model over hundreds of years.
Yes, that's how you do science.
So of course it matches the sky. That's how we made it, globe Earth model. But there could be a relationship between it being lit up, or there are many theories about it. Like everything, it could have an electromagnetic relationship. It could be charging up.
You idiot. It could be charging up. How? You damn moron. How stupid can you be? I mocked you for saying that, and you just said it again. It just came out. You couldn't stop it. Look at that open mouth. It's just waiting for more word salad to come out. Serious. It's charging up. He did it again. Oh, you're such an absolute moron. Oh. Yes, his followers are stupid. He can say the most nonsensical things, and he knows it. And that's it. He has deceived his followers into believing this stuff. It could be charging up. He literally just said that again.
Could all be within the same energetic cycle above us or whatever.
I'm going to clip that again. What a moron.
I'm not even saying that they don't have a relationship. Many people have tried to measure the moonlight and say it isn't hot, and there's all debate about that and stuff. But
there's no debate about it. Moonlight is not cold.
This is kind of what I was talking about, though. I get that this is probably even a good faith, genuine question. That's how you want to know how everything works. And since we've been given all these
Dave Fear, you're right.
Alleged answers as to how it works, you think, well, flat Earth has to replace everything I was told is true.
Yes.
But not really. We see a star through the moon. What they said can't be true.
You didn't see a star through the moon, liar.
Like we just saw that the moon looks blue during the day, and then we showed a picture of the Earth from the moon, which was NASA came out and admitted they photoshopped one of those pictures.
Which one? Which one did NASA admit they photoshopped? Listen to the next thing he says.
Didn't tell the public about it, right?
And didn't tell the public about it. Which one? And this is the irresponsibility, right? Now, Harrison did not know to do this. Which photo? Every time that flat earthers claim NASA doctored photos, they never can produce the photo. Well, sometimes they do. Sometimes they produce that photo, and it's labeled as a composite or an artist's rendition. Yeah. And like, oh, how come they didn't tell the public? They did. It's in the freaking label. You just didn't read it because you're too ignorant. What photo? Flat earthers. Find the photo that NASA doctored and didn't tell the public about. Which one? Which one is it? Which one was Austin lying about there? We all know, you all know, there is no photo. Every time they say that, it's just another lie.
Just a second ago that was shown. So I guess what I'm saying is do you agree that if the radius of the globe is falsified?
Oh, he's trying to get back to it.
Everything else is falsified. So as to a question like, how would the moon work on a flat Earth? I don't know what it is.
No, you still need to explain, right? You still need to explain. And you don't falsify the globe, but you don't falsify the radius by just doing a crap measurement. You got to do a good one.
Because we measure the surface of the Earth. I think that is the most important part. And I want to say this one more thing. When it comes to, you're right, it's like you can't look at the ceiling and say that's what the floor is, right? It's even more than that.
Wrong. You can look at the ceiling and determine what the floor is. Move at different points on the floor. Measure to a point in the ceiling. And you can determine the shape of the floor from that. This is geometry. You don't understand geometry.
If the Earth is in the center of the entire universe, it would be illogical to think that it's like everything else. It's the only thing that's in the middle. Everything else,
again, you're starting with a conclusion,
was created to move around it, right? And so that's an important distinction there that most people don't point out. It would be illogical to say the Earth should be like what's in the sky when everything in the sky moves around the Earth. The Earth is distinctly different, right?
Well,
So, yeah.
but again, we're dealing with two forms of reality: the perception and the actual, right? So it looks like everything's circling around us, but that would also be the case if we were spinning. It would look like everything was circling around us. That would mean it was circling around us. So again, it doesn't seem to me like there's any evidence that Earth is the center. I mean, what about the mapping of planets? Because I know one of the things. Again, we have an image of this motion of solar system planets relative to Earth. So basically, this would be the orbital path that the other planets would take: Mars, Venus, all these other planets. If Earth is assumed to be the center, and they're like spirals. They're like they move around a lot. And if the crew can pull up that picture, motion of solar system, we can pull it up on my screen. So how do you explain these paths in this motion without a force acting on the planets other than gravity? I mean, how do you have a planet?
Okay, the question: how do you explain these motions if you don't have a force? Right. So this right here, these are the spirograph patterns that the planets make when you hypothesize that the Earth is stationary and that they move around the Earth. This is what you get. And so he's asking, what's causing this path? Because these are changing direction constantly. In order to change direction constantly, you need a force. So what is that force is what he's asking.
Planet going towards and away from us if they're circling around us.
Well, there is a force. Automatically, there's some type of force, right? Because everything's moving around.
Okay. There is a force, Austin said. Now listen.
If you look at a Ferrel cell image of a magnetic field, so it's just a creative
instant deflection. He can't talk about it. He has to go to a different topic.
invention that was made. You use two little pieces of glass, you put ferrofluid fluid and another fluid inside of it, line it with LED lights, and you can see the magnetic field.
Right.
It makes that exact same pattern. It's a torus field.
Has nothing to do with it. That doesn't explain the force. That doesn't explain why it moves in that pattern.
Sacred geometry, the golden ratio, that torus field, every one of those planets pass perfectly within a torus field. And of course, the heliocentric side's explanation for this is it's just a coincidence, which is pretty.
It is just a coincidence. Because it fits within a ferrocell image is such a vague description that anything that's somewhat circular could fit in there. It doesn't provide a plausible mechanism for it.
Ridiculous because we see the same geometry everywhere.
But how can it match perfectly when each planet is a different path? I mean, they can't all match perfectly because they don't match each other.
Yeah, but within a torus field, there are multiple different paths, right? So if you look at a Ferrel cell image, and I could maybe pull it up, but if you look at a magnetic field, you're going to see that all of those patterns are in there individually. And basically, each one of these quote-unquote planets are taking their own path within this torus field. They all fit within it perfectly. And you said that you don't see any evidence that the Earth's in the center. You are aware that the current model says you could never prove that the Earth's not in the center.
That's not the current model. That's cherry-pick quotes from people talking about philosophy. That's not the model. The model doesn't have that kind of philosophy in it.
And that all astronomical observations make it appear as if the Earth is in the center of the universe, but
right.
that's just an illusion.
Well,
so
it's an illusion because we're on Earth, and this is our only platform from which to observe space.
Sure, and it gets a little bit more complex than that, though, because even like the distant galaxies moved in relation to the Earth, right? So then that's when Edwin Hubble was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And they had to say the whole universe is accelerating and expanding in all directions to create that illusion. And then they're like, wait, what causes that to happen? Though there has to be some type of energy that would make it expand faster than the speed of light. And that's where you get dark energy, which is never been discovered, defined. It'll never be found. And then you have dark matter to fix the gravity problems. I will actually say you can.
So again, he's not understanding how science works. You have something that you haven't yet understood in science. There's lots of things that we don't understand in science. That's why we do research. If we understood everything, nobody would do any more research. As long as there's things we don't understand, we'll keep researching, hopefully. So the current hypothesis is that there is a matter that we cannot see. Might not be right. But that's not the model. The model is not there is dark matter. The model is what the model is, and the unexplained parts of the model have hypotheses. You've just identified one of the hypotheses.
Use a Lorentz magnetic force to not get too technical, but
yeah, he's not going to get technical because he doesn't understand what he's talking about. So I'll tell you what. I'm gonna back it up just a little bit here. You want to hear this?
and then you have dark matter to fix the gravity problems. I will actually say you can use a Lorentz magnetic force to not get too technical, but it's pretty funny that you can show what's called a dynamic equivalence, meaning the way that the force.
Okay, so he said a Lorentz magnetic force. So Lorentz magnetic force is a charged particle in a electrostatic and magnetic field will have a force applied to it. It's Coulomb's law, basically, right? And Gauss's law. So it doesn't explain the spirograph because it number one, you have to show that the planets have a charge in order to be moving in this field. Number two, you have to show the field. Number three, the field has to be constantly changing and has to change differently for every single planet. So every planet has a different Lorentz force because they all have a different spirograph pattern, right? Their phases don't work, that don't coincide. They don't have any sort of consistency between them for their frequencies, their time, their phases, their amounts of deflection. None of it matches each other, so it can't be a single Lorentz force. You have to have a different Lorentz force for every single planet. Doesn't work. He doesn't know what this is, so what he does is he just looks up something that his followers haven't heard yet and said it could be this. It's an appeal to possibility again. But no, that's not how the Lorentz force works. It would cause things to curve, and that's it. It would. So dumb. Hey, Nathan, if you want to come on, I've invited you, but you're too chicken. So, flap, flap, flap. In case you're wondering, people, it's Nathan Thompson here is Be the Change. He's too scared to debate me on Modern Day Debate. So, burp, 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 chicken. Or duck. Sorry. I don't want a duck. You're not a chicken, you're a duck. Same thing, yeah. So, yeah. Chicken, duck away. Duck away, Nathan, little scaredy boy. You're nothing. You're too scared to face me. That's all right, Nathan. I get it. You're scared. You should be. All right.
Force makes objects move around each other from a geocentric universe, and it's a magnetic Lorentzian force. And what a coincidence, the patterns of the planets fit perfectly within a magnetic field's geometry.
They don't fit perfectly within a magnetic Lorentzian force, though.
So it's more elegant, actually.
Okay, but none of that.
It's not more elegant. You didn't provide any explanation for it at all. The elegant one is the one that actually provides an explanation.
That actually explains what the force is moving it or how it's set on this path. And the other thing is that you would also get paths that match up to this if you were to take a Mars-centric model and plot the movement of the planets as if Mars was the center. You would get the same patterns. I mean, it's like one of those little toys that has the gear, and you put the pencil in and spin the gear around, and it creates the pattern. It doesn't matter which hole you put it in; it creates a similar pattern that will look on the face of it similar to like the torus field or the magnetic field. But that would be true if you plotted the motion of the Earth relative to Venus or Mars or Jupiter or any other planet. Earth is not the only one that plotting the rest of the planets creates this design. So that again is not evidence that Earth is in the center. It's evidence that Earth is on the circular path that all the other planets are on, because that's what matches perfectly.
Well, it's not just about the paths; it's about distant galaxies, right? So you're right. You can match it on any planet or whatever, and you could treat it as if it's in the center. Certainly, with relativity, it says it's all equally valid. You can choose anything as the center. But this is a little different than that. They looked out into deep space, quote unquote, and saw the galaxies moved in relation to the Earth. They should not have been.
There was an understanding at the time, and it updated. That's the beauty of science. When something is found to be wrong, it updates. Everything in science is eligible to be falsified. Everything, but nothing in flat Earth, according to flat earthers, is eligible to be falsified because you've decided it. It's absolute. You will never accept anything else. But yes, distant galaxies and their movement, as of the early 1900s, wasn't understood to the level that we understand today. And today, our understanding will definitely be updated in the future.
In this model, the Earth is tucked away in an insignificant corner of the universe. It is a random, non-unique position. Everything should be moving every which direction in relation to, say, the singularity of the Big Bang or whatever people believe in, not the Earth. But they discovered it was. So it's not as simple as just I can put the coordinate system anywhere. It's that the universe has to be accelerating and expanding away from every other point. There is no center, and everything just makes the Earth look like it's in the center.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, Austin.
although you could map it out both ways. But that's not the proof. First of all, it's on its face. All observations show the Earth in the center. So to say it's not in the center, you're going to have to.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. I have to screenshot. This is the dumbest thing Nathan has ever said. The sun is black. It's right. Hold on. It's look at this idiot. The sun is black. And the moon's hotter than the sun when observed with a FLIR. And the moon's a semiconductor that works like a Zener diode. Oh, you're so dumb. Oh my gosh, you're stupid. You're so stupid. How can you be that stupid? Oh my gosh. You should definitely get yourself fitted for an iron lung in case you forget to breathe. Oh my gosh, you're stupid. You're just such a moron. Oh, I mean, seriously, I don't want to be mean, but you deserve it. You do. All right, Nathan, put your helmet on and go to bed. Oh my gosh. Oh. And you think, and Nathan, in his tiny little brain, thinks, I'm smart. I'm so smart. No, you're not, Nathan. No, you're not. Oh gosh, you're so dumb. You're so dumb. Oh my gosh. I can't believe they let you back in. They should, when you showed up in Tennessee, they should have kicked you out. But no, because every last one of those flat earthers is an idiot too. And they're like, oh, well, here's a fellow idiot. He stole a whole bunch of money from Austin, and Austin's our current darling. But no, that's fine. We'll just let that pass. It's okay. It's okay. You can steal that money. You can walk around here and you can join our party again. Well, sort of. Not really. Sort of, maybe a little bit this weekend, but then don't, beat it. We don't want you back. Yeah, by the way, I don't like Soundgarden. I know some people do, but I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Soundgarden. In fact, I'm not a fan of most of the grunge out of Washington or out of Seattle. Mostly just because I'm bitter because I love metal, and I think that they are they kind of hurt metal, but it's okay. Metal's back. It's been back for a long time. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, anyway, yes. Do keep on. And I don't mean go to bed. Definitely keep saying stupid things on Nathan. It's funny. Yes. Oh, the sun is a black body. Yes, the sun being a black body radiator does not mean that the sun is black, you moron. You absolute diggleberry. It has nothing to do with color. Black body is not actually to do with color. It's about how it emits radiation. Oh my gosh. Oh, see, Dave Kircher. Sorry, buddy. You know who I really, I don't know. Should I say who I really dislike the most from Seattle? Who do you think? Yeah, a black body radiator radiates light. That's the thing. Who do you think is my least favorite Seattle band from the early 90s? That's not Nirvana. I don't mind Nirvana. It didn't take long. Screen News 1, Coffee Troll. Yeah. Icy Spin. It's Pearl Jam. I can't stand Pearl Jam. I don't like Eddie Vedder's voice. It's droning. It's painful. It's terrible. I don't like it. Wait a second. Platonic Cuddler. Metallica. I love Metallica, and I like Faith No More. But yeah, I don't like Alice in Chains much. I don't like Soundgarden, but I really don't like Pearl Jam. Stone Temple Pilots. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's get back to this. Anyway, Nathan, sack up someday, boy. Sack up someday and face me on modern day debate. Again, or until then, just keep on running like a duck.
Prove that. Then we went and looked further, and even the distant galaxies show that.
But I mean, there is the heliocentric model that maps everything and explains everything really well, and you can make predictions based on it that are proven out in observation. Yeah. So, to say that everything centers around the Earth, obviously the heliocentric model is not centered on the Earth, and that's on a very small scale. You can say the whole solar system revolves around, or the whole universe revolves around the Earth, but at least in our solar system, it makes a lot more sense that things circle around the sun. I mean, the math, it makes a lot more sense in that regard.
If you
he's right. And here, Austin won't refute any of it.
Assume that the sun is 93 million miles away in this huge ball of gas.
It's not an assumption. It's a measurement. But, here, this one here. Fairy Muff is making a claim there about that. It turns out, so I have weighed myself versus a duck, and I don't weigh the same. So it's not correct there.
Right.
Back, if you assume the size of it, and then you assume gravity, which is that, the bigger the mass, the more gravitational pull, which isn't even considered a pull or force anymore because that doesn't work. But that's actually not true either. The heliocentric model doesn't work. I mean, this is why we have dark matter. Though. It doesn't work because this is why we have dark matter.
So here, this is the depth of the deception that he has to go to, right? We can predict the path of the eclipse, the totality, using the heliocentric model. The specific path, the amount of the totality, the time that it will happen to the second, the path of the center of totality, whether or not you need to drive 1 more mile or 10 more miles to get into totality or not. We can predict all of those things using the heliocentric model very literally. If there is one thing that is the heliocentric model, it's VSOP 87. VSOP 87 is an ephemeris that tracks the position of the planets in the solar system for 6,000 years, accurate to 1 arc second. That's what VSOP 87 is. So if there is a heliocentric model, that one could be pointed to as one of them. There's others. There's a DE series ephemerides too, but so yes, it totally works. That's just one, right? The time of the sunset, that works. The angle to the sun at any moment of the day, using the globe, using the heliocentric model, completely can predict it. Flat Earth cannot. The variations in the downward acceleration due to the moon being in certain positions and the sun being in certain positions can be predicted using the heliocentric model. And so then Austin goes off into dark matter, which isn't part of the heliocentric model. The heliocentric model would be specifically about our solar system. You gotta go farther out than that. Doesn't matter the label you give it, but dark matter isn't actually part of any model. It's a hypothesis. That's all it is. And you don't understand science because he's attributing a hypothesis to confirmed science.
There are certain aspects of it that
I'll take Foo Fighters.
We haven't figured out yet, but the stuff we have figured out works extremely well, right?
No. In 1933, a guy named Fritz Zwicky went and looked at galaxies, and he saw that this Coma cluster, so a cluster of galaxies, it was...
Oh, holy crap. Hold on. The hole in the ozone layer is actually the moon. The moon is producing silicon through chemiluminescence, which has a natural chemical affinity to oxygen. Oh my gosh. I thought you said the stupidest thing possible. I was wrong. You said something stupider. How can you say things that are stupider than that? New levels of stupid. Oh, love it. Thank you so much, Austin. Not Austin. You're not Austin. You're an Austin wannabe. Because Nathan, that could have been you if you hadn't put drinking beer in front of your friends. Yeah. Isn't that so sad, Nathan? So sad for you. I mean, you were already a a ridiculous walking joke after the duck thing. But you could have been here. You could have been the one on talking to Harrison instead of your ex-friend Austin that you screwed over for beer money. Oh, poor Nathan. All right, let's get back to this.
Off by 99% the amount of mass it was supposed to have for gravity to be true. And so they just said, oh, well, just plug in a number for missing mass. Now they call that missing mass dark matter, and it's still there, and it makes up 83% of the entire universe. This model isn't even close to working. Gravity is off by 83%. How bad does your theory have to be before it's considered wrong? Right?
It's not. He's not even understanding it. 83%. So the mass of the universe, I think the 83% is dark energy, which isn't about gravity, but you're comparing a hypothesized thing that's only about distant galaxies or things on the scale of galaxies to what we can do right here. We can explain using gravity the downward acceleration very precisely. And Austin can predict exactly nothing about the downward acceleration using all of his ideas. So if it's off by 98% or 83% or some number percent, when when we compare to yours is off by 100% because you can't explain it at all. None at all. So, people in rock houses should not throw glass.
Well, my theory actually, has the possibility of distant galaxies. Where are the distant galaxies in the firmament? I mean, how can you even make this argument if space doesn't exist? Does space exist?
No.
It's a fallacy of stolen concept. If you're like, oh, look, distant galaxies don't match. This is all right. Remember when Austin said they brought in Einstein, right? So they are in charge of it. So then they orchestrated Zwicky to see things in galaxies that don't match, right? Is that what they did, or was that an accident? Did he slip that one through? Right? Was that an actual observation that is observed in reality that raises questions about how much mass is there? Or did they invent that problem? And like Alan Space Audits earlier said, well, just because the normal people can't see it themselves, therefore it's fake. I don't need to consider it. Right? Is that what it is? I don't know. I think people can get a telescope and actually look at the galaxies and see, yeah, that doesn't quite fit. So you think they made up the model, and then they put into the model something that doesn't work, that falsifies the whole model? What was they thinking? Bad move, they. See, it's not making sense, Austin. You don't make sense. If it's just a big psyop, as you say, or an invention, or then why would this problem be introduced? It wouldn't be introduced if they were doing it. So it doesn't actually make sense for this.
Now, outer space as defined, right, doesn't exist. But just like Edwin Hubble said, everything could be much more local, and the medium could be much more dense. And then he said, and might I add, suspiciously young. See, they have a bias against this because it creates special position for the Earth, and it makes the universe younger. It makes it a closed system, and it means everything's moving around it. And they will tell you in all their literature that it's just a philosophical bias. They don't want to believe that. And that's not a straw man. That's what they say, right? They say up straight, you can never disprove the Earth in the center.
It's just cherry picking.
But the best way to do it is if the Earth is moving around the sun 66,600 miles per hour, conveniently enough, you should be able to measure that, right? And
Oh, yeah. Good idea. Let's measure that. Hold on. There it is. Here's the measurement of it. 1727 it was measured. It's not even recently been measured. It was measured a long time ago. This is almost 3 centuries ago, Austin. And you know about this. I've mentioned it to you. But now you pretend this doesn't exist. So anyway, yeah, it was measured. Let's go back to hear the lies.
We have interferometry that was supposed to measure it, and it did not.
No, you don't. You have interferometry that was supposed to measure the ether, and it did not, because the ether does not exist.
And we've done it since then. The Earth is not moving. It's been falsified. So Einstein came in and said, oh, well, the device you were using to measure actually shrank. You just
There's the lie.
couldn't tell. And then time slowed down and created the illusion that we are stationary and you can't measure us moving.
So Witsit lied right there. This is the big one here. He lied about Michelson-Morley. Michelson-Morley, or Einstein did not claim that the apparatus shrunk. Einstein claimed that the speed of light was the same speed in every reference frame. That's the claim. And that then observers in other reference frames see the appearance of the apparatus shrinking. That's what happens. He reads this in Einstein's 1916 book that he used to think, till I corrected him, was Einstein's theory of relativity. Einstein's theory of relativity was published in 4 papers in 1915. This book was 1916. It was written for a lower technical audience. It was a mass market publication. In there, he said that when the Michelson-Morley results were published, the ether people had a problem with it because it doesn't work with the ether. They didn't measure any ether. So Lorentz and Fitzgerald hypothesized, it's just a hypothesis, perfectly fine to do, that to keep the ether, that the ether caused the apparatus or something, caused the apparatus to actually shrink. So it's moving toward something, right? So it's moving like this, and while it's moving, it got shrunk while moving a tiny bit. They got the specific amount of it. They calculated how much it would have to shrink in order to have the observations match. That's who claimed that it actually shrunk. And they were the ones that were trying to keep the ether theory alive. And they also agreed that James Bradley had measured the movement of the Earth around the sun. So that's the wrong people. That's not relativity. But he knows this, but he keeps saying it.
That's mainstream claim, is that the ruler shrank effectively, you just can't tell, and time slowed down, it just appears to be the same time to you,
right.
And therefore you could never prove
Time didn't slow down. Time slowed down relative to somebody else.
that the Earth is moving, or of course just the Earth isn't moving, and all observations showing us what's really happening. Right? Well, and
All right, hold on a second. We got another pack of derp. Did somebody create a channel and name it Be the Change just to make Nathan look stupid? Or is this actually Nathan being stupid? He said, the ISS makes the same path around polar center, debunking gravitational orbit, which can only happen around great circle routes. For example, the equator and all meridians are great circles. No. So the ISS and the Earth are detached from each other. The path that the ISS takes is a simple here, hold on. All right, I got here you go. Here's a globe. So it's inclined a certain percentage. I'll see if I can hold it here. It's actually it's heavy, so that's why. So the all right, the tip of this pen is the ISS. So it does an orbit like this, right? It's not precise. And then that's the path that it takes. And if the Earth wasn't orbiting or rotating, then it would be a great circle. But because the Earth is also spinning at the same time, I can't really, here we go. There we go. It's spinning at the same time. the part of the Earth underneath the ISS is constantly changing. So that's why when you look at it on a flat Earth hypothesis, a azimuthal equidistant projection from the globe, that it makes a spirograph pattern. But if you look at it in an ECI frame, then it's not doing that, Nathan. But you don't know what an ECI frame is. Anyway, so. Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, well, Platonic Cuddler, it does seem that it's actually him. So it's not somebody intentionally making Nathan look stupid. It's Nathan making Nathan look stupid. Thank you for that, Nathan. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're here.
And
Okay,
we weren't told any of this.
But then that would mean that if the Earth's not moving, then the stars are moving. The sun is circling around us again. So so we have a firmament dome around a flat Earth. I mean, you don't actually have a model, right? So what is your conception of what Earth is? I mean, again, my conception of Earth is not exactly super scientific. Like, I don't know all of the details of it, but it makes perfect sense. Earth is spinning, tilted axis, moon orbiting us, we orbit the sun, other planets also orbiting. So I mean, all that makes perfect sense. Do you have any semblance of a model for flat Earth at all?
Yeah, sure. So it's a torus field, just a torus field, and that explains pretty much everything. I could pull.
It explains pretty much everything. What about the path of the eclipse? What about what keeps the sun up? What about what causes the downward acceleration that's 9.8 meters per second squared? What about what's the composition of the sun? What about what about celestial navigation? What about the actual size of Australia? What about flight QF27 between Sydney, Australia and Santiago? Or QF63 between Sydney and and South Africa? Like, all these things. Your torus field, that's all you have. It's a torus field. It explains everything. No, it doesn't.
Pull up an image. I don't know if that's possible, but a Farrell cell image of a torus field will show. You can just Google Farrell cell image magnetic field. You'll see a bunch of them. It's just a torus field, and there's a vortex in the middle. And what a coincidence! You take the magnetic flux data of the Earth, you put it on a flat Earth map, and you get a perfect vortex around the center. You take the planets and you fit them within the torus field. It's perfect. So, and of course, they claim
it's not perfect. I mean, you can bring up the image, but it doesn't match perfectly. It generally looks somewhat like it, but because magnetic fields, visualized match the magnetic field of Earth. I mean, that's not.
All right. I love this. Look at this. Well, what's in the middle?
Even so, I mean, is this your model, or I mean, that Earth is round, so that can't be it, right?
No. This is a flat Earth. Ironically, this is actually the ISS trajectory on the left. This right here, and this is a Farrell cell image of a magnetic field. Right. All of these patterns fit perfectly within that. And then there's also this. This is the magnetic flux data.
All right, so Austin is sharing something that's not being seen, but this is the important part. Here is the magnetic field of Earth projected onto an azimuthal equidistant projection from the globe. So you can see there the North Pole, and then look over there on the top right. That is the South Magnetic Pole. So now when Austin says, well, he doesn't have it up right now. Where'd it go? When Austin says that the flat Earth is a torus field, it's not. Because in order for it to be a torus field, you couldn't have the North Magnetic Pole and the South Magnetic Pole like that. It requires that particular set, which is measured in reality, requires not a torus field going out and coming back underneath, right? It requires North Pole, South Pole. So you have a magnetic field lines here, and you have magnetic field lines here. Not a torus. Not a torus. That doesn't work. Because in reality, not in Fantasyland, we have to actually stick in reality. The South Magnetic Pole is in a real location, and it's not directly down from the North Magnetic Pole. It's in a real place. Christian Hoge says, admit the main reason you accepted your golden ticket was because it involved a free trip to Antarctica. I don't know anything about a free trip to Antarctica. I would be interested in that. But he's talking about the final experiment. It's a mysterious channel talking about doing an experiment that globers and flat earthers can agree on. There are 24 globers, 24 flat earthers. Of course, the globers, we could just say normal people. So 24 normal people and 24 conspiracy nutters are invited to participate in the final experiment. It's the location of the final experiment is Antarctica. But that's it. That's all I know. That's all that's been published. We don't know what it entails yet. And maybe we get a say. That'd be great. Does it mean that anybody in particular is going there? I don't know. That'd be great. Does it mean that we all 48 of us get offered free tickets to go? That would be pretty expensive. I very much doubt that. Oh my gosh. What in the crap? Wow, that is so dumb, Austin wannabe. That is so dumb. Seriously. Oh, seek help. But don't. It's funny. Nathan Thompson said, it takes a day and a half to simply put eyes on the moon. After 2 days, another 2 days for us to see approximately 1/10 of it. Then 3 days later, it's miraculously half. That a Zener diode? No. Okay, so your math is dramatically off. A day and a half to put eyes on the moon? I think you mean to see it. That's not right, but let's just do the math. 1.5 days. Right? Another 2 days to see approximately 1/10. There you go. It's hard to do half a pinky. So here we are, 3.5 days. Then 3 days later, it's half. So we got 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 days, it's at half. You mean 7? Okay. It's half moon. Well, it is a sine cosine relationship. So when it's at the extreme, its variations are slight, and when it's halfway, its variation is maximized. You're not smart, Austin. Why do I keep calling you Austin? Whatever. I really don't care, Duck Boy. Anyway, whatever the final experiment is, I just said, hey, I can say I will participate however I'm able to. Don't know what that is, but I'm happy to participate. I'm all for experimentalizations. So it's not a challenge for me. I don't fear going to Antarctica. I don't fear other people going to Antarctica. I would love to see more video on top of the existing many hours of video in Antarctica, in addition to the many thousands of people that have already been there. A few more, 48 more, great. Let's do it. Well, ODD can't because he's in prison. Yes. Because I'm triggered. Oh, Nathan, bless your little cotton socks. You're so precious. Oh my gosh. Nathan, you are a joke. You gotta understand this, Nathan. You are one of the biggest joke flirts around. Right? You got CC, you got Flatzoid, you got you. I mean, I don't know who is more of a joke. Right. So some of the morons on Facebook, but they need to make videos more. And Nathan, you've been on videos. And so, yeah, it's hilarious. I foretold so I can't see this Nathan in chat. It's be the clown. I mean, that was on purpose. Be the change. Anyway, all right, let's get back to this. This is what it would have to look like. That's not a torus field. The block domain wall he's about to talk about. Do you see that yellow or is it green? So a block domain wall is the place where the this isn't it. That's the declination. Hold on. There it is. Okay. So Nathan, so now I got Nathan. Austin is about to talk about the block domain wall. And I'll prep you for this. This is again, so this polar projection from the globe of the magnetic field of the Earth. This is the declination. This is the inclination. So the inclination is the vertical angle of the field. And so the vertical angle of the field is horizontal on the surface of the Earth at that circle, pretty close to the equator. So in reality, okay, I got to back up. The block domain wall is the place where north and south in a magnetic field, where north and south are equalized and you have no net force. They cancel out. So the block domain wall on Pizza Planet here is that yellow line around near the equator. That would be the block domain wall of the dirt pizza according to the actual magnetic field that's measured in reality. Right? That's where it would be. Not a big horizontal thing, because the magnetic field isn't a toroid on flat Earth.
Of the magnetic field on the Earth, and it all fits
Sorry, it's green, not yellow.
perfectly within what we see in a magnetic field. And then this is called a block domain wall. It's a plane.
Well, are you
goes right through the middle. We live on that.
I'm just not seeing the images that you're pulling up. So if we can, if you can share your screen, I want to make sure we know what you're talking about exactly.
Sorry, yeah, I am sharing screen on Skype right now, but I don't know if you can see it.
All right, we'll figure that out. We have about 2 minutes to break, but we'll work that out with the crew during the break here. But what about, and I got some more images I want to show you. Again, I really just don't think that saying Earth is a torus field, I mean, that's not a physical description of where we are or how the world is composed or the universe is composed. I mean, is there a firmament? What is underneath us? Are we on a flat plane? Is there a map you can present to me that makes any sense at all? Is Antarctica an ice wall, or is it a continent that exists? I mean, what is the actual argument? Saying that it's a magnetic or torus field that's not actually a physical description of where we are.
Well, shouldn't we apply the same logic that we do with everything else that we look into as truthers? Like basically the critique is that we're not a cult of thought. You're right. We all think for ourselves, and we're all trying to figure out what's going on. And there was a cultish belief system presented to us that you're not allowed to question without being ridiculed, right?
So here he is trying to attack when science agrees on things. That's very different. When science agrees on things, it's very different than a cult of thought. Right? The reason why people in science would agree on something is because it's correct and there's empirical evidence for it. And if you go, Thomas Kuhn's book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, talks about when there gets to be a problem within a subset of science, that one of the indicators of that is a variation of different ideas about what causes a particular phenomenon that is being explored. So when you have a big variation in different ideas, it means that you're wrong about something. That's the whole point. And that you're due to have some sort of breakthrough in what's going on. The large amount of agreement within science is an indication of correctness, not an indication of cult of thoughtness. But he's trying to do that, and he's trying to flip it and say, well, flat earthers don't agree on basically anything, and that's a good thing. No, it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's an indication that you're wrong. If you were right on something, you could all agree on it. If the moon was actually 32 miles in diameter, you would all say, oh, well, here's how I measured it. Here's how I measured it. here's how I measured it. But no, you got people saying the moon is actual physical. You got some saying it's plasma. You got some saying it's a projection. You got some saying it's a portal. You got some saying it's a dog toy that a gigantic dog chewed on. You got some people saying that it was scooped out of the Grand Canyon by giants filled with helium and put up there to mock us. All these different things that don't make any sense. None of them make any sense. Every single one of them has been falsified. That's a problem. That's not a good thing, but he's trying to twist it into a good thing. And he knows his audience is a bunch of conspiracy nutters here. And that's why he's leveraging that.
But like, what's beneath us? I don't know. What's beneath you on the globe? The deepest hole ever dug is 7.8 miles. No one.
Again, you don't need to go somewhere to figure stuff out about it. What a juvenile idea. Seriously, he really said that in front of this audience. He's, every once in a while, like he's being strategic about what he's saying, and then he says something stupid like that, right? You don't need to cut open a mother to figure out the gender of the baby, right? Ultrasound can do that. You don't need to go to the center of the earth to figure out what the center of the earth is like, to figure out what it's made of, right? You can't make direct observations. You can make indirect observations. Super, you can do that. It works just fine. It's a little harder. Sometimes it takes longer to gain an understanding. Sometimes the model is ripe for update, but still, in the end, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. So I'm looking to see any more derp. No, come on, I want to see it. Come on, derp more for us. Do that thing. Do a thing.
One knows what's below 8 miles. No one. And the globe model admittedly can't even explain it mathematically within their model with supercomputers. And well,
yes, we can.
What is Antarctica? You can't freely and privately explore past the 60th south latitude. We effectively live in a real life Hunger Games.
You can. He knows this. He just lied again.
That's a real thing, whether you think there's a globe or not. You can't freely and privately go out there, and that's based on what our government did. In 1946, they brought the Nazis over in 45, Operation Paperclip. 46, Operation High Jump, we went to Antarctica, and then we considered Antarctica our number one focus.
All right, we'll be right back. We'll pick it up with Antarctica on the other side.
Okay. They're going to break, so I'm gonna skip over that. I mean, I read the Antarctic Treaty. You could just go read the Antarctic Treaty.
Back for two more big chunks. We're just going to dedicate this whole hour to continuing this conversation, because clearly we've barely scratched the surface. Antarctica. I think there's a lot of suspicious stuff about Antarctica. I think that there could be major military operations. There could be lost civilizations. There could be...
And here we see Harrison as the conspiracy nutter, right? There could be bases there. So in the one case, we've got Witsit saying, hold on. In the one case, you've got we can't go there because of the treaty, right? And then we've got Harrison saying, well, there could be military bases there, but no, there could not be military bases there. So first of all, we'll start with freedom of scientific investigation in Antarctica and cooperation toward that end as applied during the International Geophysical Year, which is the year that this was signed, shall continue subject to the provisions of the present treaty. So freedom of scientific investigation is guaranteed by the treaty. And then Article 1 says peaceful purposes only, prohibited inter alia any measures of military nature such as military bases and fortifications, the carrying out of military maneuvers, as well as the testing of any types of weapons, but not to prevent the use of military personnel or equipment for scientific research or anything peaceful. So they can't have a military base there. It's against the treaty. Now, a conspiracy nutter like Harrison there would say, well, that's just a front and there's something else going on. Okay, I get that. But you can't, and I know Harrison is not. Austin is citing the treaty saying you can't go there. Treaty says so. So Austin Now, will he say, well, no. The treaty says you can't have military bases there. He should say that to be consistent with the treaty does these things. But will he? Let's see if Austin is going to be consistent.
Fertile land, right, underneath the ice with gaseous air pockets that preserve heat. There have been stories like that. I've read the
So dumb.
accounts of Admiral Byrd and Operation High Jump, right? I get all of that stuff. But it ain't an ice wall. I mean, it does exist. And, if it was me and I was trying to keep some sort of military operation, some sort of breakaway civilization secret, it would be the greatest gift in the world to have a bunch of my worst enemies, the truthers and conspiracy theorists out there, thinking that it doesn't exist at all, that the idea of Antarctica isn't even real. And, I mean, the map doesn't make any sense. I mean, just how do you comport this with everything else? I mean, there's a yacht race around Antarctica, right? People have circumnavigated Antarctica. It didn't take them as long as it would have taken them to go on the outside ring of a flat Earth. So, again, if you're saying Antarctica doesn't exist, or is an ice wall or something, I mean, that alone sort of paints a picture of a model, because you have to have an ice wall around the outside and the Earth in the center. So is that the model that you're going with for flat Earth?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly open to that model. I think, again, the whole thing is detaching from making up claims you can't verify just because a bunch of people gave you claims that we can't.
Detaching from claims you can't verify. Detaching from claims you can't verify. Austin just said you should detach from claims you can't verify. What's the moon, Austin? It's a ferrocell image that's charging up and discharging. You claim the Earth is flat. You can't verify that. You claim that the heliocentric model can't make predictions, but you can't verify that. So, all right, let me read this. PhD Tony says, we solve for individual cell velocities within the Earth using seismic tomography. Yes. Now, seismic tomography to Austin will be words that he doesn't understand, and he will just hand wave and say, I didn't see it with my own eyes, therefore no. So, thank you for that, PhD Tony. Yes, that's how we figure things out. Larry Scott says, say whatever you want about the treaty. The treaty is about a specific place. That's all that matters. 90 degrees south, done. Well, there's a good point about that. I mean, how many people have to go there before you can say, all right, fine. It exists. 1,000, 5,000, 100,000? What's the number? How many people got to say, I was there. I went to the South Pole. I saw it. I saw the 24-hour sun. How many people have to say that for flat earthers to stop lying about Antarctica? They don't. There's no answer to that. They will just keep lying because it's lying to a flat earther is like breathing. They have to lie. Melodic lyrics says every time I hear a flirt say you can't see it with your own eyes, I'm forced to wonder what the conversation with the doctor when they're sick are like. And you know what? If you ask a flat earther, you know what they'll say? They'll say, I never go to the doctor. I never get sick. Break your bone, break your arm, and then ask. Then do that.
Can't verify, and so we need to replace them. But yes, it could be. It's known to be the highest elevation in the world. Just look up pictures of it. There is certainly what you could call a wall of ice holding the water in. Can't fall off the edge of a lake. There are stories of extra land beyond that. Actually, Admiral Byrd even seemed to imply that.
So you should distance yourself from things you can't verify, he just said. What, 20 seconds ago? And now here he is talking about stuff he can't verify.
But there could be more land. And when it comes to the yacht race allegedly around Antarctica, just look a little deeper. And what you'll see is that these boats have a top speed. It's a race. They do a similar race with the same boats in the north. And if you compare the top speeds, it's a joke. In the south, their top speeds in a race are way slower.
Right.
So this is such flat earth destruction right here. So what is the circumference, according to flat earth, of 60 degrees south latitude? Now, they will balk when you do this, but let me remind you, with very few exceptions, flat earthers claim that Antarctica is the outside and that the North Pole is the middle, right? Austin talks about the block domain wall, and he talks about the circle. If Antarctica is the ring around the outside, like he just said, then the AE map is your map. And then we can compute the consequences based on your claim. There are 60 nautical miles per degree latitude. 60 degrees south latitude is 60 plus 90 degrees away from the North Pole, the center of what you think is the center of the Earth. So 60 plus 90 is 150 degrees, and there are 60 nautical miles per degree. That's 9,000 nautical miles. So let's convert. Let's do this in kilometers. Yes, we'll do it in kilometers because this is science. So we're going to go from nautical miles to kilometers. That's 1,668 kilometers on flat Earth. According to flat Earth, the 60 degrees south latitude line is 1,668 kilometers in diameter, in circumference, sorry. Uh-oh. Nathan Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, says, Sun and moon are electromagnetic dipoles in the firmament, which itself works like a semiconductor. Gold would be the conductor, and the clear bottom is the insulator. Could be glass or crystal. Oh my gosh. You don't know anything about electronics. Dude, here you are with your blazing ignorance. This was my book when I was at university. You couldn't pass a 5th grade science class, right? This was the book. This was the book, right? So no, Austin, or no, Austin wannabe, you're not right. It's so funny. Okay, 1,668 kilometers is the circumference of 60 degrees south latitude. Now, the problem is that these boats don't go that fast. There's sailboats, and they do have a high top speed, but they can't do that top speed constantly. They have one driver, and that one driver doesn't get to sleep much. But they are pilot captain. So the Vendée Globe record time is 74 days, 3 hours. Okay. Now, they don't start in Antarctica. They start in Vendée, France. So according to the Globe, it's 45,000 kilometers. According to the Globe. According to Flat Earth, it's more, because they start in Vendée, France, and then travel all the way south. So when you take that distance there to get down to 60 degrees south latitude, which is about where they go, and then go around and then back north to Vendée, it's way more. And the top speed of the ship, of those boats, is less than the speed you'd have to have for the entire time. This is how stupid it is. You can't say it doesn't work. You can't say there's something suspicious. When you actually do the computation for your claim, they would have to travel constantly faster than the fastest speed that those boats have done. Constantly. While sleeping 74 days. 74 days they're out there. One captain. One person on that sailboat. And they'd have to be constantly traveling faster than the fastest speed ever. It doesn't work, Austin, and you're just lying. And the reason why he feels confident in the lie he's telling here is because he knows that this person won't question him, and he knows that all of his gullible followers aren't able to do the math. So, all right. See, Vendée Globe sailors are crazy. 60-degree surfboards through the Southern Ocean. Yeah, that's what it is. It's nuts. You got to be nuts to do the Vendée Globe, but yep.
But it would make sense if they're actually traveling further than they think they are.
No, they're sailboats, and the wind patterns dictate it. So in places where there's high wind pattern, there's like northern trades, southern trades, like wind generally sticks to because of the spinning of the Earth. Unfortunately, the weather patterns are fairly predictable, and there's not a strong wind that pushes you around Antarctica, unlike other places where they hold boat races.
Antarctica is known to be the windiest place on the Earth, and the southern jet streams are actually significantly stronger. You Google what place has the strongest winds on Earth, it will be Antarctica. And I think they have the pictures ready as well, if you don't mind, if we pop that up just so people can see what I was saying. Yeah, so if you look here,
the spirograph,
you're going to see that is a ferrocell image of a magnetic field, that orange picture. And if you take the planet.
So this is the desperation. He's identified a picture that happens when you put a magnet under a certain circumstance. Therefore, all of these other things that don't make sense suddenly appear to be similar. Therefore, that's how it works. That's not how it works in reality. In reality, big boys need to explain, why does that path of Mercury do that? What's the force causing it to do that one single loop? You can't just say word salad, Lorentz magnetic force. That doesn't explain it. You need to show the actual application of the Lorentz magnetic force. You need to show the actual empirical evidence supporting of the charge of Mercury, because the Lorentz magnetic force applies to bodies that have a charge, an electrostatic charge. So you need to show the charge, then you need to show the varying field so that the planet can make those many different turns. You'd have a long list of burden of proof that you need to provide. Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, all of those have different patterns. It can't be the same force, because if there was, they would all have the same pattern. So, strongest winds on Earth, Barrow Island. Wait for it. Australia. Nice.
They all fit right within that in little different portions of it. They literally do. I've actually overlaid them and transitioned them. They all fit perfectly within a ferrocell image. And then the other image is going to show you the magnetic flux data on the Earth on a plane, which conveniently they actually.
Now notice that this is on the right side there. You see that on the right side? Do you notice that is it blue or purple on the left there? You notice that? You know what that is? That's the South Magnetic Pole. He does not know that is the South Magnetic Pole. The other thing is he's saying this is magnetic flux. Flux due to the right-hand rule has a direction, but it's not a movement of magnetism. It's not what's happening. But he wants it to be.
Actually took this off the main website. They took the azimuthal projection off once people found it, and we had to make our own. It's a perfect torus. It's a vortex, just like in the magnetic field. And then
it's a perfect torus. It's a vortex, like in a magnetic field. There's no vortex in a magnetic field.
A white line through the middle of that bottom right picture there is called.
All right, what's that white line through the middle of that one called? Anybody in the chat? What's he about to say? I paused it just before he said the words. What is it? Anybody? You've heard it before. You've heard it before. He's that white line in the middle of that. So there's the four, right? You got the circles there. Oh, there it is. Block domain wall. He's about to say block domain wall.
A block domain wall. It's a plane, meaning we do live in a torus field, even.
And again, that green circle is the block domain wall according to actual measurements. If you project to a dirt pizza. So again, once again, the block domain wall is where the magnetic field cancels out inside of a magnetic field. So there's no net force, magnetic force in that in wherever you are in that. That's where it has to be. It's not the entire plane. He says the whole plane. Right? He says the whole plane, that the whole disk of flat Earth sits in there, but not according to actual observations. It's just fantasy land.
In the globe model, they have to admit this, right? And there's always a plane through the center of it, and that's where.
No, there's not. There's only a plane through the center of it if it's a perfect toroid magnetic field, which you get in a simple magnet, but that's certainly not what you get on the surface of the Earth, right? That's not a simple perfect plane. So what happens to a compass on a block domain wall? All right, so in reality, there is no block domain wall that we're talking about here. It's not. We don't get that where there's zero magnetic field. In reality, we have magnetic declination everywhere. We've got magnetic field strength everywhere, and we've got magnetic inclination everywhere. So they never cancel out like that. So, sorry, reality isn't your fantasy world, Austin.
Where you reside is on the plane. We can't go beneath that, right? And neither can anyone that believes in the globe. So just to clarify that, not to necessarily bring it back, but it perfectly explains where we are. It explains containment. It explains.
It doesn't perfectly explain. You completely lied about it.
The motions, a Lorentz magnetic force, and it's all.
It doesn't explain any of the motions. You just word saladed.
Way more viable than the other model. Like,
Yeah.
Way more viable. None of that provides any explanation. All right. More. All right. So here I am. I'm an hour into the 2 hour. And it's 1 a.m. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to maybe do the second half of it tomorrow night. It's at 1:06. So are you interested in coming back tomorrow night and seeing the other half of it? Matters Now, Ozian has done already part of it, and he might do another part of it. So if you're interested in his take on it, definitely check out his take on it. So all right, Real Cygnus says, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I'll do the other half. So we're at 1:06 right after that break. But will Be the Change be here? Will Nathan Thompson, the discredited flurf, be here? Who knows? Certainly he won't be doing anything productive with his life because that's something he has yet to do. Maybe in the future he will. Pretty good chance it won't be tomorrow. Anyway, so I will call it there, and I will plan to do it tomorrow night. It'll be late again tomorrow night. So it'll be an after dark show or something like that. Maybe I'll have some libations to go with the lunar libations. So I don't know if you're interested in watching that. So anyway, people, thank you very much for joining. Thank you for participating. Thank you especially, Nathan Thompson, for the derp you brought. It lightened up the day for all of us to see the insanity that came out of your brain. Should get a Hooters neon sign for late shows. Oh, that'd be funny. Okay, everybody, we'll see you tomorrow. And if you don't show up tomorrow, Friday, I've got 2 debates back to back. First, a modern day debate with Takori on gravity. You know, Takori, the guy that thought that he debunked the globe by not using the correct formulas for surface area and volume. That Takori. He's going to prove gravity is something else somehow. And then it's Captain Cook, the concaver, who's now a flurf, with his e-girl, who's going to prove flat Earth with, I don't know what, numerology somehow. But anyway, we'll see you then. Thanks. Here we go.
MC2, drop that beat.
All right, no, hold on. Psych. Psych. Mr. Unite for the Chill Win said, those speeds, You cannot break the laws of physics. I can't do a Scotty accent from Star Trek. Anyway, that's it. Thanks. Here we go.
MC2, drop that beat.
All right. Let it flow. Let yourself go. So I know that is the tempo.
So, yeah, let's do this. So,
Let's do this. Yo, it's MC2, the debunking tycoon. I shatter flat earthers, make them face the moon. Your attempts are decent, but they'll swoon in the face of my logic like a deflated balloon.
Oh, MC2, the monsoon cartoons. On the real say, send it first to their views. Your theories are like old brooms, sweeping ignorance or just spreading the views.
FDFE stands for fumbling the facts, evidently. I drop truth bombs so splendidly. Your approach is soft, mine's unrelenting. I bring the science while you're just venting.
MC2, the buffoon with silver spoon. I got the pseudoscience, make them change their tune. You're the sidekick, I'm the room. When it comes to debunking, I'm the room.
Dizzle. But hey, FDFE, we share the creed to educate and debunk the plant the seed. Though in this rap, it's clear indeed I've got the upper hand in word and deed. Alright, hold on a second. The Zoom call died. Everything died! No!